Italian mine hunters could soon become central to the global economy, so these days there's a lot of talk about the Italian Gaeta-Class ships. In fact, Italy has expressed its willingness to take part in a future international demining operation in the context of the Strait of Hormuz crisis. The decision was confirmed by the Italian Minister of Defense Guido Crosetto, but with a specific condition. The deployment will only take place after a return to conditions of stability and diplomatic balance in the area, which, translated, means that no Italian ship will be sent to clear mines while the parties involved continue to, so to speak, exchange courtesies. The planned intervention, therefore, is absolutely not offensive in nature. On the contrary, it is a very technical activity aimed at ensuring the safety of maritime routes in a crisis situation, which, although far from Italian borders, directly concerns us as citizens. The goal is to restore reliable operating conditions for commercial shipping, especially energy shipments, which, as you know, passes through the Strait of Hormuz. The Italian contribution would be part of a clearly broader international context, where other countries would provide direct military protection against aerial and missile threats should the situation deteriorate, again during operations. But let's take a step back and give a quick overview of the situation and the possible dangers. The Strait of Hormuz is one of the most important choke points in the world, through which a significant portion of global energy passes. Its characteristics make it particularly vulnerable. The navigable waterway narrows to about 30 kilometers, give or take, creating a perfect situation if someone wants to put a stop to trade. These conditions create an ideal environment for the use of drones, small boats, and naval mines. Even a small number of explosive devices can have significant effects. It's not necessary to physically block the traffic, it's enough to introduce a very high perceived level of risk with immediate consequences. Increased insurance premiums, suspended routes, longer crossing times, and costs that are passed directly on to the final consumer. All dynamics that in some ways we've already seen in the context of the Suez Canal with the Houthis as the main players. Not to mention the real risks due to the possible crisis in Iran, which is beginning to unfold, related to fertilizers with direct effects on agriculture. Well, let's talk now about mines, which are easy to place with relatively low costs depending clearly on the model. On the contrary, demining is a complex and time-consuming process. The operations follow a precise technical sequence. In summary, first the search is carried out using sonar, then suspicious contacts are classified, after that identification is performed, and finally neutralization is achieved. Even with advanced technologies, clearing a limited area can take weeks. This imbalance between the ease of laying and the difficulty of removal is one of the central elements of mine warfare, which, if you think about it, reflects the imbalance we see between low-cost drones like the Shahed 136 and the more expensive missile-based air defense systems used to shoot them down. In certain situations, and we make it clear when the task can't be delegated to cheaper weapon systems like artillery or anti-drone drones. I'll try to give you a brief overview of mines, but I don't want it to be just a shopping list. If you want to learn more, I'll leave the sources in the first comment on the YouTube channel. The arsenal available to Iran includes very different systems, both in terms of technology, cost, and activation methods. The simplest mines are contact mines. You've probably seen some World War II movies. Well, they're more or less like those. These are devices anchored to the seabed that explode when they are hit by a ship. More advanced are bottom mines, which are placed directly on the seabed. These systems can be hidden by sediments, making them harder to detect. The next level is represented by influence mines. These devices do not require direct contact. Instead, they are equipped with sensors capable of detecting environmental changes caused by the passage of a ship, such as alterations in the magnetic field, noises generated by the engines, or pressure changes. Some models combine multiple sensors and are activated only when they detect specific signals. This allows for reducing accidental activations or for selecting certain types of targets. There are also more complex systems if we look a little further. Among these are self-propelled mines, capable of moving to reach a predetermined position before activating. In practice, they can be activated from the coast and made to reach a previously determined point without the use of, for example, small boats. Last are the rocket mines placed on the seabed. These release a projectile upward when they detect a ship hitting the hull from below. Alright, now let's move on to us, to Italy. But first, let me remind you that if you're enjoying what we're doing, what we're trying to tell you, support us with a like, share this video on your social media, and leave a comment at the end of the video. If you really like the video and want to support us in this project, consider subscribing, just a coffee a month. Now let's talk about Italy, which in this specific and technical field definitely has something to say. For mine clearing operations, our country has 8 highly specialized units built right here in Italy by Intermarine. A company specialized in the design and construction of naval units made from composite materials, particularly fiberglass reinforced plastic. Intermarine will be featured again in our videos, because when it comes to Minehunters, we always have to come back here. About this company, which has already built the ships we're talking about today in the past, especially the second series of the Gaeta-Class. The ones built in the 1990s feature optimized construction to reduce magnetic and acoustic signatures, which are fundamental elements, as you can imagine, to avoid triggering mines. The hull is made of composite material, fiberglass reinforced plastic. This choice ensures both resistance to underwater explosions and a reduction in the magnetic signature. The size of these ships is limited. We're not talking about a frigate or a destroyer. We're talking about a length just over 50 meters and a displacement of about 500 tons. The speed is also quite low. Depending on the mission, it's higher during navigation and reduced during mine hunting operations, 15 knots in the first case and, for mine hunting, 6 knots. On board, there are advanced systems for detecting and neutralizing explosive devices. The variable depth sonar allows us to analyze the seabed even in complex environmental conditions, overcoming the effects of thermal layers. These are thermal layers in the water which can hinder the detection of mines or submarines. Once a contact is detected, remotely operated underwater vehicles, the so-called ROVs, are deployed. These systems allow direct observation of the object and, if necessary, the placement of charges for controlled destruction. Alongside these robotic systems, Navy divers can operate, who are the equivalent of bomb disposal experts on land. Please, if a Navy diver is listening to me, I ask you to forgive me for the simplification. The ships are also equipped with medical facilities. In addition, a Navy diver, forgive me for the simplification. If a Navy diver is listening, please forgive me for the simplification. Now that I've given you an overview regarding the timing, these ships are not very fast, as I said, and they need support ships like the Volcano-class. From the political decision to arrival in the operational area, it can take about 20 days. According to sources, the distance to cover is about 6,000 nautical miles with a route that passes through the Suez Canal and the Red Sea. These are still dangerous stops due to the possible Houthi attacks, which for now are still staying under the radar. We will clearly keep you updated. For now, we are talking about 2 or 3 mine hunters accompanied by a frigate and a logistics ship. These are the numbers according to the sources I've already mentioned a couple of times in this video. So, having said that, I hope I've given you at least a bit of a picture of the current situation. Let me know what you think, and especially what you think about this class of ships. See you soon here on Gens Italia. Go check out the whole issue about mines in the first comment. Bye!